Hello Wargames, it's me Callum from Tabletop Banter, and in today's video we are going to continue our analysis of the Harlequin Codex, this time looking at the elite choices. Okay, so looking at the elites. So Death Jester. First thing to look at is this fella here. He is your ranged support, probably the best way of describing it really. It reminds me of the Malgan Ra Eldar model a little bit, with the cool weapon. This is his Shrieker cannon. It looks pretty nice. I actually think I built mine up wrong. I think I'm missing an entire part, but never mind. I think it looks alright. So anyway, I digress. Onto the rules. So he's 60 points, and for that you get weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 5, strength and toughness 3, obviously he's an elf, 2 wounds, initiative 7, 3 attacks, leadership 10. Now that's pretty good. I like that. For 60 points, yeah, maybe. So what does he have? He has a hollow suit, he has Shrieker cannon, and a flip belt. Now the hollow suit, did we have that on the troop? Yes, it's just what they wear. Okay, that's fine. I'll continue. So the Shrieker cannon, that is his big weapon. It's got a couple of modes of fire. That's the important thing to note. So it's basically a shuriken cannon that he can just run around with and shoot. It's pretty good, I'd say. It also has a special mode of fire where you can fire like a poison 2-up blast. And the other thing is it's got like it's a one-shot deal, but it has a bio-explosive round. So after you've killed them, a small template. If you kill your opponent, a small template goes over the top of where he was dead, and everyone underneath it in that unit is hurt more. It's quite good, but it is only once a game, so it's not like a, oh my god, this thing is amazing. It's just a shame in some senses, but it's fine. So onto his special rules. He's got fear. He causes fear, fleet, furious charge, hit and run, independent character, and precision shots. So that's quite nice, being able to pick out things like flamers and other scary Overwatch weapons. Independent character is pretty good because you can take this guy and like units of himself. So 3 Death Jesters, for example. Hit and run, I don't really want to see him in combat, but nice to have. Furious charge, again, don't really want to see him in combat, but it's nice to have. Fear and fleet, can't say no to the additional rules. Now he has his own special rule, which is death is not enough. Now I love this rule. So an enemy unit that suffers 1 or more casualties from the Death Jester's Shrieker cannon during the shooting phase must take a morale check at the end of the phase with a -2 modifier to its leadership, just as if it had suffered 25% casualties. If this test is failed, the Death Jester's controlling player, i.e. me, chooses the direction that the enemy unit falls back in this phase. If the unit continues to fall back in subsequent turns, it does so towards its own table edge. This is amazing. You can basically move your opponent around as you please. So obviously they have to fail a leadership test, but if they try and, I don't know, let's say they're on the flank, you can make them run off the side of the board. You can make them run off your own table edge if they deep struck in. You can make them run off their table edge. You can make them run into dangerous terrain, difficult terrain. You can make them flee through, or just anything. You can make them flee towards you, so that then you have to declare a charge, and they have to pass another leadership test, or just be killed. So I can see this guy being used quite a bit. I kind of want 3 in a Shadow, in a Starweaver, like the transport, because it's open topped, you can fire out of it. That would suit me just fine. He can take haywire grenades for 5 points. Maybe. I don't really want to see him in combat though. And then he can take one from the Enigma of the Black Library list. Excuse me, sorry. So he can take some cool stuff, but I'd keep him bog standard, dirt cheap. Just get him in a transport with other of him. On to the Shadow Seer then. He is also 60 points, or she. I don't really know. Now what we get for that is weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 4. Strength 3, toughness 3, obviously, 2 wounds, initiative 7, 3 attacks, leadership 10. Very familiar, only difference is weapon skill and ballistic skill. Now, the Shadow Seer is a psyker. The war gear options are Hollow Suit, Hallucinogen Grenade Launcher, which I need to read into, the Shuriken Pistol, the Mist Stave, the Flip Belt. So again, just a 5-up invul. It's not enough in my opinion, but I think I've laboured that point enough. So it's a level 1 Psyker to begin with, who can take from the disciplines of Phantasmancy, Demonology, Sanctic, and Telepathy. So probably wouldn't ever take from Demonology. Phantasmancy is actually pretty good. I'm going to cover that in another video. I'm going to talk about all the enigmas of the Black Library, the other like special rules and stuff. That'll all go into one video as well. Now, you can upgrade him to a level 2 Psyker for 25 points. That's the norm. He can replace his Shuriken Pistol with a Neuro Disruptor. I'd do that. It's a good weapon. Why not? May take Haywire Grenades. Might do that because, in all fairness, you know, it's good. And then may take one from the following of the Enigma of the Black Library. Lovely. Fear Fleet, Furious Charge, Hit and Run, Independent Character, Psycho Mastery level 1. So he's pretty bog standard for a Psycho. If you think about the Space Marine Librarian, he's 65 points. Now, in my opinion, the Librarian's a bit stronger. Just a bit, because of what you can give him, the way you can upgrade him to make him a beast. Now, the Mist Stave is on page 91, so what we're going to do is we're going to skip ahead to page 91 and 90 and look at the Hallucinogen Grenade Launcher and the Mist Stave. Okay, so we're here. We are at page 90 and 91. Let's talk about the Hallucinogen Grenade Launcher then. So it's a range 18, strength 1, assault 1, blast, hallucinogenic. So obviously strength 1's not the important bit, but the hallucinogenic rule. At the end of the shooting phase, a unit that has suffered 1 or more hits from this weapon, so it's not wounds, it's hits, with this weapon, this special rule, with the weapon with this special rule in the phase, must make a pinning test. If the test is failed, then in addition to being pinned, the unit suffers a single wound with no armor or cover saves allowed. This wound is randomly allocated. Really sorry about that. I'm reading it upside down and it's just a nightmare. The font is just so strange to read upside down. So yeah, basically, I'll summarize what I just said in nicer words. If you hit them, they take a pinning test. If the pinning test is failed, they take a randomly allocated wound with no armor or cover saves allowed. Brilliant. Love it. All you got to do is hit then. You don't have to wound. You just got to hit. And if they fail a pinning test, they're toast. Now, this is good because you can minus leaderships here, there, and everywhere in this book. Particularly with the Shadowseer can take a mask, which minuses leadership, which is great. And finally, we have the Mist Stave. So that's strength +2, melee, concussive, fleshbane. So it's strength 6 on the charge, but it's fleshbane just in case. Nothing else to it really. It's your bog standard power maul, but it has the fleshbane special rule and no AP value. So it's good for causing wounds, good for taking out maybe light vehicles. It can wound a Wraith Knight, so yay! Not that I think you'd ever really want your Shadowseer in combat with a Wraith Knight. So I'm going to go back to the Elites page and we'll continue our work. So really, that was all there was to the Shadowseer. I mean, there's a lot of cool combinations you can like tee up with these characters of minusing leaderships and getting people pinned and getting people falling back or falling forwards. So they all tie in very nicely. They can be in other units. Now this one, the Solitaire, has to be played on its own, and it's a unique model, so you only get one of them. And let's look at the stats. Weapon skill 9, ballistic skill 9, strength 3, toughness 3, 3 wounds, initiative 10, 6 attacks, leadership 10. It's 145 points, and rightly so. With that kind of stat line, you'd be thinking, oh my god. He has the Hollow Suit, Harlequin's Kiss, Harlequin's Caress, and a Flip Belt. All lovely, that's fantastic. I like the Caress and I like the Kiss, and being able to choose between each one is good. So once per game he has this Blitz special rule. So once per game at the start of the controlling player's movement phase, the Solitaire can move in the following manner instead of moving normally. Roll a number of d6 equal to the current turn number. The result is the number of inches that you can move the Solitaire, basically. When moving in this manner, the Solitaire can move over all other models and terrain as if it were open ground. But it cannot move on top of other models or that kind of thing, impassable terrain. In the assault phase, he gets 10 attacks, base. So once per game, assuming he's alive towards the end of the game, he goes nuts, or she. This is crazy. Like, 10 attacks base, plus 1 on the charge, close combat weapons, you've got 12 attacks. I'm just going to let that sink in for a second. 12 attacks, I mean, for God's sake, that's huge. Huge. Now, obviously, he's not got, like, an amazing close combat weapon in terms of, like, an AP2 at initiative, everything hurts. But that's fine. We can work with that. So, he also has these other special rules. So, Impossible Fall. He gets a 3-up invulnerable save. So, that makes him more survivable, but still, it's basically like having a Space Marine who's weaker in terms of toughness. The Path of Damnation. So a Solitaire can never be joined by another character. If the Solitaire is your Warlord, it never has a Warlord trait. So they're basically saying he's not your Warlord. And I wouldn't make him my Warlord either, because I want him to get into combat and potentially risk his own life. So Prismatic Blower is the last one here. So a Solitaire can move up to 12 inches in the movement phase. I like that a lot. 12 inches of movement. You know, it's got fleet, so it's going to hopefully get into combat pretty quickly. It's a single model, so you can hide it behind buildings and just jump around. It ignores terrain. There's a lot of ways you can be sneaky with this Solitaire. As long as you're playing in a terrain-rich environment, you're going to have a whale of a time, and you don't die from Overwatch. So in terms of special rules, he's got Deep Strike. I love that. That's cool. Options, you know, options. Eternal Warrior, huge, especially with toughness 3 and 3 wounds. Fear and Fearless, that's nice to see. Bit of Fearless. Fleet and Furious Charge. So you're going to be making more of those charges, and you'll be strength 4 on the charge. Hit and Run and Precision Strikes. So it's all pretty nice there. I do like that. I think this is going to be a really fun model to play. That's why I want to get hold of one. In all honesty, though, I actually don't like this model. It just doesn't do it for me. There's too much cape. So what I'm going to do is buy a box of Harlequin troops, have a unit of 5, which I'm going to basically deck out for shooting, and then with the spare model, because you get 6 in a box, I'm going to kit bash together the Solitaire, maybe do a little bit of green stuff work, who knows. It's going to look pretty. That's all I can really say. I plan to make it look pretty anyway. So I do want one of these. I wouldn't say it's an auto-include, but it's pretty decent. As for the Death Jester and the Shadow Seer, I would take 1 of each minimum in every single army I build. This guy, I might take 1, I might not. So that's it for today's video. Thank you ever so much for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe and leave those comments below. Let me know what you think of the Harlequins. How do you take them, and would you use these elite choices given the option? So yes, thank you ever so much for watching. It's been me, Callum from Tabletop Banter. Don't forget, have fun.